Welcome back again to Irinka's Kitchen. What I'd like to do today is share another great recipe that my grandmother and my mother made. It's a traditional Hungarian lavash. It's called Hus Leves, and it's chicken soup. This soup can also be made with beef, but today I'm going to make it with chicken. So what I've done is I've cut up a frying chicken, about 2 kilograms frying chicken, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to put it into a stock pot. So I'm going to add it to my stock pot. So I've cut them up into small pieces so it's easy for it to fit into the stock pot. And this is a traditional Hungarian recipe. It's served before the main course meal. Hus Leves was always served before a main course meal. So it's really a very popular dish in restaurants. So I would always serve this during, when I went out with my cousins or my relatives in Hungary for dinner. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to add 8 cups of water to this recipe. And I'm going to make sure that the chicken is covered with water. So in my recipe I mentioned that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring this to a boil, and then I'm going to take the froth off of it, and I'm going to keep boiling it until I get all of the froth off. It's important to get the froth off because then it gives it a clear soup. So it's really important that you do that. I've got the chicken soup at a boil right now, and what I've done is I've removed the froth because it's really important that you remove the froth. So it's kind of like a brownish color. And what I've done is I've removed quite a bit of the froth, and I think that's pretty well as much as I can get off of there. So now that that's done, and I've brought the soup to a boil, I'm going to bring it back down to a medium heat. Then I'm going to start adding my spices. So some of the spices that I've chosen is Vegeta. So I've used a tablespoon of Vegeta. If you can't find Vegeta, you can use sea salt. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add the seasoning to it. And then I've got some pepper, half a teaspoon of pepper. You can add more ground black pepper. And then I've got a little cube. It's sort of a chicken bouillon cube. So I'm going to add that into my recipe. And then I'm going to stir this a little bit around, make sure that all the spices get in there really good. And it's the chicken is cooking slowly in the water, and I've got about 8 cups of water, but I've added a little bit more, probably about 8 to 10 cups. Make sure that your chicken is all covered with water. Now what I'm going to do is I am going to start off with adding some of the vegetables. Now I've cut the celery into halves. I've got 2 stalks of celery and I've cut them into halves. So I'm going to add those into my soup. Then I've got about 2 cloves of garlic, and I've cut them into half. So I'm going to put those into my soup also. And then I've got onions, so I've got a whole onion and I've cut them into quarter pieces, into larger chunks. So I'm going to drop that into the water. And then after I've cut up some carrots, I've got 2 carrots and I've cut them into halves. So I'm going to add those into the stock pot also. And then I've got 1 parsnip. And the parsnips, like I've mentioned in my other soup recipe, it gives it sort of a sweet flavor. So Hungarians usually add parsnips to their soups. Many of the soups have parsnips in them. It just gives it a sort of a sweet flavor to the soup. Now this is going to be cooking at medium heat. So I've added all the spices, all the vegetables. So I'm going to leave that to cook for about half an hour, and I'm going to check the chicken. I'm going to make sure the chicken is cooking, and then another additional hour. So I'm going to keep checking to make sure that the vegetables are cooked, and especially that the chicken is cooked. Now I have added some tips for you to the recipe. So, and the tips are, always cook the noodles separate. So I've got some noodles here. This is kind of like a hairline noodle. Just bring it up to the camera. It's very thin noodle, and you could buy this. You buy this at your neighboring grocery store. You can buy it at a delicatessen if you can't find it. But it's very thin noodles. So you would cook this separately from the soup. So it's important that you cook it separately, and then you serve it with the soup. Any leftover soup with noodles should be eaten as soon as possible, because the soup will spoil. The soup will turn sour. So you wanna eat it as soon as possible. Any leftover, and then you can remove the chicken out of the soup before serving it, and then you serve this chicken stock and the vegetables with the noodles. So any leftover chicken stock that you have can be frozen into freezer containers. So I would remove all the vegetables out of there, and you can add fresh vegetables. You can use the chicken stock, and you can put in fresh vegetables again. And then you can use the leftover chicken to make a favorite chicken dish of your choice. And I have some recipes like the chicken paprika. You could actually use it with my chicken paprika recipe. And so this is a fantastic recipe. The soup has been cooking for about an hour and a half, so I've checked the chicken. It looks like it's ready. So what I've done is I've spooned in some soup into a large bowl, and what I like to do is I'd like to show you, and I'm going to bring it close up to the camera and show you what this amazing soup looks like. And as you can see, there's the onions and parsnip and celery and just the broth. So what I've done is I've just taken the chicken stock and I've added the vegetables. So I hope that you will serve this to your guests and your friends. And until next time, bon appetit, jó étvágyat. And if you have any comments or questions about my recipes, you can contact me. My email is irene@irenkaskitchen.com, and my website is irenkaskitchen.com.